forget it. Are you with her on that?
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's the unfortunate part. Trying to keep the focus on the players today is where I was, I think it's probably best. Unfortunately, I have experience in this, and I have a lot of feelings about it, but I think probably today would want to focus on the players in this season, because I think something like this, soiling, the amazing, season that we had, and we all know. I mean, I don't need to say anything. We all know what happened. At this point, it's, spending our time, the last 5 hours, spending our time, just looking forward and what's next for us.
I think it was, I can't remember now who said it. One of the players said that even yesterday after the physicals, all the team just said we got to go out and have dinner together just because we don't want this kind of chemistry to end.
Yeah.
We've talked all year about that chemistry.
Yeah.
And you got your starting 5 under contract for next year, but there'll be some changes. When you see what chemistry can do, does that affect the way you go about changing this roster with whatever changes you deem necessary?
Yeah, it's not unlike most off seasons. We got more intentional after we got a little more lax with coming out of the bubble season. We were looking for some things, and maybe we didn't have all the information that we are made a conscious return to prior to this year, so last off season. Because we have the group that we have, we will scrutinize absolutely. We don't think we need major changes. But as you said, there will be changes because it's never the same 12 players. We have a couple free agents. We have an expansion draft, and so we'll have to sort of start to cross those bridges. And I think each season is so different. So to expect that just because you have the same starting 5 back, that it's going to be the same magical, whatever. It's really hard to recreate what this season was, this journey was. Doesn't mean that it can't be another special journey, but it's just going to look different. People change, people maybe, want something a little different than what they had last year. So all the places that were special, I know I shouted out Diamond, Peely, Ollie, just in terms of their situations were hard when you're not seeing the floor at all, and the toll that it can take on you. The maturity that Diamond and Ollie, in particular, as young players, in this world that we live in, with all the noise on social media and the places that they frequent, it can be really hard to be mature and not think of yourself and how you're feeling, and then therefore that impacts the team, and it weighs on the team, and it pulls and tugs at the group, and it becomes a dream. And so it was really special. Ollie, maybe as a vet you can understand it, but sometimes vets are the hardest people, teammates to be around, because they have an opinion of themselves. And I think having those types of people are what made it go. And I really, that was one of the first things I said post-game, was that watch Ollie on our bench, watch Peely throughout the season, Diamond, who went from starting to being out of the rotation completely by the time we got to the end. Watch Ollie's engagement as they came off the floor. Watch Ollie, telling the coaches, when somebody gets a foul before they even have it written down, that's 3 fouls on BC. So engaged in the game, or a matchup that she liked, or those are the things that, like for me, you remember all the great times at the play in basketball, etc. But those things, that never leaves you. Those memories never leave you, because it's part of what made it so special. And so we're going to have changes there, and we hope to emulate that mature behavior once again, because it's worth points in a game within a season, and that's what you saw from us this year.
You're heading into kind of an unprecedented off-season coming up. You got the expansion draft to prepare for, and I don't know if you can speak to any specifics on what your thinking has been there, but also with this opt-out by the PA, there's going to be a lot of people out there looking for one-year deals. Do you anticipate a lot of movement, and how do you approach what could be almost like a Wild West situation?
Yeah. Yeah, I think with regard to free agency, we've known this for a while. It's been a few years now that players were signing shorter contracts. Nobody wanted to get past, 25 in anticipation of an opt-out, so that's not a surprise to us, the opt-out. And I think, we've been in this space of, shorter contracts, et cetera. I don't know what percentage of the league, 85, 90% of the league is going to be unrestricted. It is unprecedented, so I don't have any idea, in terms of navigating. We just want to take care of our players. And we've always believed in that. We don't want to be a team that has to use a core on players. We want to be a team that has players that want to be here and on their own volition. And so, I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. When we have also, players that are, moving from their prime to the latter part of their prime. And so, that's a couple years from now. It's a long ways away from now, and we are well positioned for next year, and that's our focus.
Coach, related to that, we've heard players coming here today, and each one touch on how much this organization, means to them, and just how much they love being a Lynx and being part of this culture. And unsurprisingly, K-Mac has a lot to gush about, just how much this organization means to her. And I just remember last year when she got her new contract, you mentioned K-Mac is at the root of all the good that happens for us. Just the bond between K-Mac and this organization has always been very strong, but just how gratifying was it for that to bond continue to grow this season, especially with kind of the special season that she had on the floor?
Yeah, I mean that's what you're happy when someone like K-Mac experiences the joy of playing. I will always remember K-Mac, and I will always use her as an example of a veteran treating the young players that she did last year the way she did. They're on the court with her, and it would have been very easy for K-Mac to be frustrated with all the mistakes that Diamond and Dorka were making on the court. And her decision, conscious decision, to lead and enjoy leading and going through the lumps together, it's something I will always remember. It's one of the greatest examples of who she is. She's a big sister. That's what she is, by nature, and she comes from, the oldest, and has the youngest that's just gone to college now. I'm sure she draws on those experiences, and the investment she makes in her siblings is the same thing that I saw the investment she was making in the young players in Diamond and Dorka. And then, this team, I think the ways that she understands the game, the freeness that she approached the game with this year, the joy, shooting the basketball, and having the run that she did percentage-wise, it was unbelievable. The shots that she was making, and her preparation, work ethic, who she is as a teammate, all those things, it just makes you really happy. When it all, things that you say that could happen for a player, when it all happens, it makes you feel pretty darn good. Being an all-star, being second team, those things are huge. They're not small. And happy for K-Mac that she feels about the organization the same way we feel about her.
And also going back to the beginning of this season, you had mentioned the great season overseas that BC had last year. We talked with her today. She's going to the same team in Hungary, getting started there in 2 weeks. Was that a conversation that you had with her? And is that going to that a place where she's already had success? How helpful can that be for her to continue to evolve and take another step with the Lynx next season?
Yeah, I still have a couple more interviews, and she's one of them. But there's, logically speaking, I think that the evolution for her to go from the season last year there, the WNBA, the season she had, I suspect that team at Hungary is very excited to see her because she's going to be even better than what she was last year. And she was a big reason why they were successful last year, and so to get that back, I'm sure they're super excited. And BC will always just continue to get better and grow. And I'm happy for her because she's been patient, and finally, in year 6, when it gets to this place of she got the opportunity to be a starter, she made the absolute most of it.
Cheryl, you mentioned on Diamond went from a starter to basically not playing at the end of the year. Was she ever really healthy after she came back from the injury? And I'm wondering how much that may have hindered her development or her ability to get back into the rotation.
Yeah, I think she got to that place. I mean, it was, you know, I have to kind of go back and remember the timing of it, but I know she worked her tail off to get back for the start of training camp, coming off the off-season surgery. And then I can't remember exactly the timing of it, but I know we played a few games. And then she had, we were actually in Connecticut, we played a few games, and she tweaked the knee in Connecticut. And, you know, I can't remember exactly, you know, which knees and all that stuff, but I just know that she was out. When she came back from that, I do think she would tell you that she felt healthy. I don't think the knee was a hindrance. You know, I think it just was, I think for her from a playing standpoint, to go from not playing in the off season to coming back from the injury, get back on the court again, and then have it interrupted again, it stunted, you know, the growth, the momentum that we needed to go from year one to year two. So I don't think health was a reason at the point you're talking about later in the season, no.
What's the plan for her in the offseason? Is she going to Europe?
She is, yeah, she is. And you're testing her right now. Where she's going, Poland. She'll be in Poland playing for a good organization in Poland. It's an important offseason for her. She's really chomping at the bit to play. And so, you know, we're hopeful for her that she has a good, strong, healthy offseason to carry into 2025.
Looking back throughout the season, a lot of good memories from the squad. And you look back to like the Commissioner's Cup, through the playoffs. What are some of the best memories, favorite moments that come to your mind?
I mean, it's such a long season, guys. Like, I mean, I think about training camp seems like 3 years ago. That Olympics in the middle of all that. I think for me, like the memories are, I mean, the interactions on court for sure. You know, like some of the, you know, relationships of going through battles together and learning about, you know, on the fly where I'm learning about some of the new players that we got and who we are as a team, navigating and trying to tweak, improve, et cetera. Just that journey of, you know, the connections with the players. I think a lot of it's probably off court too. You know, when I say off court, away from the game. You know, practice situations and, you know, some of the, we had a funny team. There was a lot of humor. You know, as you can imagine, Courtney and T were at the forefront of most of it. But there's my memories are just around the connection that they had, their belief in each other, and their, you know, no matter what, they bounced back, no matter what. And whether it was me challenging them, you know, at halftime, you know, we have some good memories. This team was really, really good about taking some moments that were maybe difficult, maybe a coach-player type difficult moments, turning that into you know, situations or moments of levity where they laughed about it later. You know, that to me was such a great sign of a team, and they didn't hold on to anything, you know, anything, and instead, you know, it became like the butt of jokes. You know, remember when you know, did this and happened? I would remember, and they would like, you don't remember, da da da, and they would laugh about different things that happened. That was just a special thing, because a lot of times players hang on to stuff or they don't recover, you know, from stuff, and I think this group was really special in that way. I had a lot of fun coaching this team.
Okay, and then looking forward, we've already talked about the upcoming prep, but when I had asked Fee and K-Mac about, you know, their work-rest cycle for the off-season, you know, it takes a lot of rest before they start building up for next year. As a coach, what do you do to, you know, from now until you have to start building for next year? Do you take any time off? What do you do to rest and get refocused and unplug?
This season is very different, but this offseason that just started, actually hasn't officially started. When I walk out of here and finish my last two, it'll officially start. Very different than last offseason in that even prior to the end of last season, we were already working on the off season. As you can imagine, this has been a lot in this year, and so you won't be able to find me for a while. My wife and my kid got concerned when I said that, but I don't know you'll be able to find me. But I won't be around, I won't be out, I won't be, I need to shut down. And whatever that brings, I'm not gonna let myself move immediately into 2025. And so I can't tell you exactly when that will happen. We will be ready for the expansion draft. We will do what's necessary. Claire will take on a bigger role, because again, I'm gonna truly shut down for the first time, and I don't know how long. Very, very long time.
Cheryl, looking back on this season, breaking attendance records, having kind of the whole city rally behind the Lynx.
Yeah.
Just, you've been here for a long time. What was that like this season? Was it different than the last championships teams, or was it just kind of a special moment?
Yeah, I think the evolution of the league into the space that it got into in terms of popularity, even before the season started, when Caitlin Clark announced that she was going to enter the draft, I remember I was not connected to the business side, and the wave of enthusiasm that came from a player that wasn't even going to play for the Lynx. And we certainly knew some of the other players that were going to be in this draft, so there was a lot of excitement and momentum for the WNBA, but to see it actually translating business-wise across the league, whatever the reasons were, there's a lot of, as we all know, there's one really big reason, and there's a lot of other reasons why. And I think the movement that we're in now, I think it's exciting. I think that for me, one of my biggest takeaways from this season is what you just said, with a number of times that I heard fans talking about being in bars, in the Twin Cities, and maybe not accustomed to the game, their willingness to put a game on, because that's a battle when we try to watch women's sports, when we go into just a bar. It's hard to find it, or even a willingness to put it on. To learn the frequency with which the games were on, sound on, people gathering together, having watch parties, as the season moved on, and we were, achieving the success that we were achieving, especially in the playoffs. The way the city supported us in terms of, signage, throughout the city, and unfortunately, no, the other teams didn't have that. They didn't, and that's the travesty when you think about it. And Jim Pete always said it, man, people have no idea what they're missing. And we're gonna look back on this and go, how the heck? But it happened in the NBA too. There's some great players that were playing in front of 2,000 people back in the NBA, back in the day. And so for me, that was a big thing, a part of the identity of the season for the Minnesota Lynx was, as we know, business-wise, one of the best years that we've ever had. But then also support-wise from the community, throughout the community, whether it was in arena or anywhere we went. The interest in the team and the buzz, was palpable. So that's part of what made it special too. Sorry we couldn't get a chance to celebrate one more time together with a parade. We were looking forward to that opportunity. But hopefully, fans know how we felt about them and how much we appreciated, because they were a big part of our success.
And then Cheryl, this one's just switching gears a little bit, but every player that has come to this podium has just spoken of just how much trust they have in you, your leadership, how much they enjoy being here. As kind of the head of the organization, the head coach, what does that feel like, hearing that kind of feedback from your players so consistently?
Yeah, I always like context, so I don't know how you guys set the question up. Like sometimes I'll be like, what the hell are they supposed to say? And I'll tell you, she sucks. No, I think we pride ourselves on trying to be an organization that is rooted in trust, you know, and that if we tell you something's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, and it's gonna happen, you know, in the grandest way possible. And so we've just, you know, tried to lead in that way, because that's how we want them to be. We want them to have, you know, what we have as a staff, we want our players to have. And everything is rooted in trust. It's rooted in a passion for what we do. And you don't ever want those two things to be questioned. And so I'm happy that it's coming through for them and that they trust us a little bit.
Fee sat there a little while back and said she's never gonna forget what happened at the end of Game 5, and she said it in a way that kind of gave you the feeling like she's kind of on a mission now. Now she's improved every year. She's gotten better at everything that she does. She took a break, you know, step, I think, even in the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
But what should the league be ready for if Fee is really on this mission?
Yeah, well, you know, like when you go through something like this and you don't really have a choice but to accept it, the outcome. You can know that it was an injustice, but at the end of the day, it's always how you handle things, always. And one of the things we told the team afterwards is like, you wish you could give them a good answer as to why it happened. Some of the things that ensued following the game were really unfortunate. That makes you question or feel let down by your league. But at the end of the day, one of the things that we told our team that the only choice we had was to use it as fuel. And that's not something I had to talk Fee into, because I felt exactly the same when I was looking into her eyes after the game. You know, how not disappointed, how angry, and to feel like something was maybe going to burn inside of her. You know, but that's what players have. I mean, there's different things that bring motivation. USA basketball is always a great motivation when you don't make the team. You know, it's well documented, people use it. And so there's moments in people's career that maybe this is one, you know, that catapults her. You know, it's already a great space that she's been in. She was the best player on the floor in the finals, which is pretty incredible. I'm super proud of all the ways that, you know, she's improved, but I am super excited about what's next for Fee.
Just a moment ago, you were mentioning about the business aspect of things, and this is the first season where you're able to charter flights instead of being on commercial. Can you just discuss about the importance of that in league growth and also in preparation for the team?
Yeah, I mean, it's a game changer. We've known it for years. I'm thrilled that it happened in an Olympic year because, you know, that would have been really, really hard if we were not chartering this year, you know, with the 40 games, etc. I mean, I can speak from you know, my vantage point of how, you know, what I saw, you know, mental health, physical health, things that they didn't have to worry about anymore that would be a drain. And I think it increases the quality of the product, for sure. And so came at a good time. You know, I'm glad it happened. You know, there's, you know, to concentrate, players always say that when you come and play for an organization like ours, all you have to worry about is playing. You don't have to worry about where your next meal is going to come from because you've got a chef. You've got all the resources to train basketball-wise, to prepare your body sports performance-wise, nutritionally. Our medical staff, our coaching staff, they literally just show up. Well, that's a big part of charter, is a big part of making that happen on a larger picture. That you can now focus on just playing. And that getting to and from a game doesn't have all of the drain, the drag. And I mean, from there, I think that's probably the most obvious thing.
We'll take one more question for Cheryl.
Yeah, Cheryl, it's no secret that this team didn't get a whole lot of national attention, pretty much until you got to the finals, and that you guys weren't really happy with that. And a lot of players spoke about using it as motivation throughout the season. Now that you've been in the finals, and though you didn't get the result you wanted, a lot of eyeballs are on this team now. what would you like those folks who got to look at you guys for the first time to take away from, or to take away after seeing you?
The folks that saw us for the first time
In the playoffs.
in the playoffs.
That saw the way this team played together and the way it defended and the way it,
Yeah.
and the way the players were there for each other.
Yeah.
Those kind of things.
I mean, I think people that watch us play, I mean, I have heard from people I haven't heard from in years. But inspired by their play, the way that they played, both tactically in terms of coverage and schemes. So coaches that I haven't heard from for years, and fans that have said the joy that they got from watching our team. And I shared this with our teams. I wanted them to understand the impact they've had. That's what I think people saw. You know, that it was hard not to tune in to watch us if it was the first time and go, that's a really fun team to watch. And how they do it, you know, is something that draws you to them. And so I don't necessarily have anything to say to people that are watching for the first time. It's just, I think it was palpable, and we made an impression. And it's a style of play that I think people kind of look at and go, we'd like to emulate that. And that's saying something. And I think for our starting point next year will be with greater expectations. But I think the group is ready for that.
Yeah, and you mentioned the other night that this shows that there's another way to do it besides assembling a
Yes.
super team.
Yes.
How much satisfaction, pride do you get in the fact that you did it a different way?
You have no idea.
Try me.
You have no idea. We've been carrying, there's a lot of things that you guys don't know, and you can't know. It's just the way it is. And last night was not an impulsive feeling that I had. We have been challenged as an organization to return ourselves to the place that we got to this year. It's been well documented for agency, et cetera, et cetera. I think to accomplish it in the climate that we're in now is something that I hope our organization understands how hard it is to do. I hope other organizations that see us do things in the way that we have, again, in the climate that we're in, as it seems that things are shifting, rules are shifting, accountability is non-existent, et cetera, that in the market that we're in, and the opportunity that we had to show that you could build a team differently, I think was incredibly important for the WNBA. Incredibly important for those that are also trying to do what we had a chance to do this year.